Watch this. One in 8 women in the United States will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. That translates to millions of women battling a scary diagnosis. Well, here in the Gem State, those numbers could be higher than we think because, well, Idaho ranks last, 50th in the country for breast cancer screening. With October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's time to encourage women to get that mammogram. But a couple of months ago, a Boise woman found out even with a proactive approach, there are some coverage gaps when it comes to insurance in Idaho. The bad news, a cancer diagnosis. The good news, that woman is lawmaker Brooke Green. And now she is making it her legislative quest to make it easier for others.
It was crushing. It was a crushing blow.
In August, Boise Representative Brooke Green announced that she would be stepping back from public life after a diagnosis of invasive breast cancer.
You know, not only am I now a cancer patient with breast cancer, I've also lost the opportunity to carry a baby through IVF. And so it's like, which one's worse, right?
Green was hoping to use IVF to expand her family, but her attention was quickly forced in a new direction.
I had a clear scan last year. I didn't have cancer on my scans last year. My cancer appeared within 9 months.
Green was able to quickly get into Lyra Total Breast Health in Meridian for more scans. It was a doctor there who pointed out something interesting.
And she shows me my imaging and she goes, here's your cancer on 2D imaging and here's your cancer on 3D. She goes, I can't see it with 2D imaging.
On the 2D, you cannot see her cancer. There's no doubt. I cannot see it.
Dr. Barbara White is a radiologist and co-founder of Lyra Total Breast Health. Through her work, she found a major gap in breast cancer care in Idaho.
A lot of women in Idaho are just given the option of having a 2D, and then if they want to have the 3D, then they have to sign paper that says they're going to potentially pay more if their insurance doesn't cover it. And what happens is a lot of women opt out of doing that and only get the 2D image. And so with that, they often don't have breast cancers diagnosed in a timely manner.
It varies from carrier to carrier, but Dr. White found often insurance just doesn't cover beyond a 2D scan if it's diagnostic.
And so what we're trying to do is get all coverage for all imaging for breast health in Idaho.
There are tools like contrast scans that can yield quick and crucial results, especially in patients with dense breast tissue.
What happens when you have dense breast tissue is the cancer is white, but so is the normal tissue is white. And so it's really hard, it's really difficult to determine, is there something going on? And when I do the 3D and I can scan through it on the 1 millimeter slices, I can actually see this breast cancer here. But again, it's pretty subtle. And when I go to this is, again, the contrast enhanced mammogram, there's no doubt in my mind that there is an enhancing mass there.
That coverage could be the difference between life and death.
Representative Green's story is so impactful because we can see it right in front of us. So had she not had the best available initial screening, she would have had a diagnosis of cancer mid to late pregnancy, and that might have cost her life.
Dr. Rihanna Menon is the medical director of Mountain State Breast and General Surgery. She, too, is advocating for expanded insurance coverage in Idaho.
So what we want is contrast-enhanced mammography, MRI, 3D mammograms. We want all of these approaches that are just standard to be covered by insurance.
Through this process,
As Brooke Green dove into the topic, it became apparent that Idaho women and some men were faced with a cost barrier to coverage.
So are we going to choose between better imaging and enhanced prognosis, better prognosis? Or are we going to choose food? And so, the conversations I've started with insurance companies is what does the coverage look like for your insurer, and how can we expand that in preparation for, the legislative session, which is right around the corner.
Green is using her experience to try and push for change. One idea?
It would ensure that 3D imaging is covered. It ensures that the other diagnostic tools are also covered, and not just for preventative.
For now, Green and her family are focused on her health, a bittersweet reality that includes reflection on what could have been, but in the context of a crucial catch.
Cancer sucks. It's like slaps you in the face one day, and in 24 hours your life changes. In our case, it was our family. That was probably the hardest hit. Once I realized I was going to be okay, we realized how big of a deal this is going to be. So it's hard, but it's also therapeutic. If we can work to make good, positive change, then I'm helping somebody else.
And Representative Green is doing well, but she did tell me today she will be missing a portion of the beginning of the legislative session. She's scheduled for a surgery for a mastectomy and a reconstruction. Brian, when I spoke with her and her doctors today, one of the things that they cannot say enough here in the month of October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, go get scanned, advocate for yourself, and make sure you're having a conversation with your physician, with your medical team, with your insurance provider, what is covered.
How is this a legislative thing? Is it the law that says that doesn't make insurance companies cover this type of treatment or scan?
Well, I mean, if there's nothing in the law that says they have to do that in Idaho, as Idaho insurance coverage carriers, they don't have to. So what this becomes a conversation of, do you have to mandate something to insurance carriers in Idaho? As you know, insurance gets a very tricky and complicated world, but the idea here is to start these conversations, and then hopefully there is a legislative solution. Representative Green, though, will find out firsthand what that could look like.
That might change the whole least regulated state thing, too.
Well,
at least put a little nick in it, I guess. Well, we'll see. All right, thanks, Joe. All right, there was an announcement last Thursday that went a bit under the radar for those not paying attention. Idaho Superintendent of Public Instruction, Debbie Critchfield, made it clear Idaho's social studies curriculum is going to get some help from a well-known and controversial media outlet known for spreading misinformation, or more delicately, content with questionable accuracy. Jennifer in Boise saw it. She sent us this. Please report on Critchfield's approval of Prager U curriculum. The curriculum is appallingly biased and a frighteningly slippery slope. Okay, so Prager U may sound like an institution of higher education, but it's not a university. It's a conservative content creator that describes itself as, quote, promoting American values through short educational videos, end quote. They do this for kindergarten through 12th grade. But the educational part is what many refer to as the, well, head-scratching part. Maybe you've seen the Prager U video of two time-traveling kids who visit Christopher Columbus, who, when asked about his views on slavery, tells them, quote, being taken as a slave is better than being killed. No, I don't see the problem. Well, the point was to not judge events of the past by today's standards, but they take several liberties with the interpretation. And the point of no-profit Prager U is to combat what they call the left-leaning hijack of the American educational system, and they've been trying to get into schools for years. Well, it appears Idaho has become the 7th state to make this supplemental curriculum available to students.
I'm so excited about our partnership with Idaho.
Late last week,
return to civics education.
Idaho's Superintendent of Public Instruction,
I learned some things in a different way.
released this video.
Oh, what a great way to explain that to a junior high kid.
Announcing the use of Prager U curriculum was now approved for Idaho schools. Prager U is the brainchild of its founder, Dennis Prager.
To the left, it's the liberal attitude toward race.
A conservative radio talk show host and author. Prager U consists of books and 5-minute online videos that try to explain the history of the world and the events and people involved.
It's very easy to critique and be critical of something that you have heard maybe online, or you've heard narratives attached to different things, but I went and investigated it myself.
Superintendent Critchfield told Prager U she showed the books to her family one weekend over the summer.
And they said, this is good. We like the way that it was presented, and I asked a few more questions.
So she then took them to her team. And the released video from last week, well, should tell you how that went.
So we will have links that will make the content available and accessible.
Those links include topics like America must be colorblind.
Or it won't be America. There will still be a country that borders Canada and Mexico and sits between two oceans, but it won't be the nation envisioned by Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence.
In this lesson, Andre Archie, a Greek philosophy professor at Colorado State University, uses Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech as proof.
My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
King said those words in 1963. By the time Barack Obama became president in 2009, King's dream had been effectively realized. Yes, there were still individual racists, but racism was dead, universally discredited. No one who espoused overtly racist views was taken seriously in America.
Wait, they weren't?
I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
That is Charlie Kirk, the founder of the conservative student organization Turning Point USA, the multi-million-dollar nonprofit very comfortable in today's far-right world. In his video, Archie says racism returned with the death of George Floyd.
Floyd, a black man, died while in police custody in May 2020.
Actually, he was killed by a Minneapolis police officer, which sparked nationwide protests that summer against police brutality and racism. So to say it went away with the election of Obama is a bit of a stretch.
And if your concern is non-binary gender,
by the way, Charlie Kirk also has videos with Prager U.
It is about generating the interest, the conversations, and saying, what does the local community want to see in the classroom? How do we help support the teacher? And ultimately, it's about the kid.
Well, in our research today, we also found a video with Dennis Prager where he says Hitler was left-wing because he believed in socialism. I mean, after all, it's in the Nazi party name, right? The National Socialist German Workers' Party. And Hitler hated capitalism, so therefore he must be a socialist. That 2-minute video fails to mention the Nazi party under Hitler had nothing to do with socialism and had everything to do with right-wing ultranationalism that was dedicated to racial purity and anti-Semitism. And of course, total political control. We did try to ask Superintendent Critchfield about this Prager U curriculum and her recommendation for Idaho schools. And while denying any availability for an interview, she did want to make it clear these are only supplemental materials which schools can use to support their existing core curriculum. It's not a replacement, but an addition, if they want to. The decision left up to local school districts and teachers. Opponents point out, however, if indoctrination is the concern in Idaho schools, well, Prager U isn't exactly not that. Despite a verdict, they're both back for more. One party wants more money, the other wants a new verdict. Abby Wilt updates on the Big City Coffee trial and more 208 news in today's 411.
Big City Coffee and Boise State University were back in court yesterday for their dueling motions following the $4 million verdict last month. Despite jurors siding with the owner of Big City Coffee, Sarah Fenley, saying Boise State pushed her off campus after she put up a thin blue line sticker in support of law enforcement. Fenley's attorney filed a motion to get more than the $4 million, requesting an additional $1.7 million in legal fees and costs. Boise State filed a motion for the judge to appeal the jury's verdict. No word on when the judge will decide on the two motions, but both sides are set to be back in court on January 6th. Following Lieutenant Governor Scott Bedke's announcement of the water rights draft agreement yesterday, Governor Brad Little said in a statement, "I have been fully engaged on this issue for months, and it's rewarding to see us inch closer and closer to a milestone worth celebrating." He goes on to say, farmers working together is better than any government solution. For the next 2 weeks, farmers will present the water mitigation plan to their peers. Then hopefully a finalized plan will be announced mid-November.
We're here to support people in their mental health, in their physical health, and now with Cap Ed, their financial health.
Today, the Treasure Valley YMCA broke ground on a new $80 million facility. It will include financial counseling, health services, and family programming and recreation. The new downtown Boise Y will also have a family early education center, doubling the amount of affordable childcare in downtown Boise. Half the project's money came from philanthropic support, but the Y is still looking to fundraise the last $5 million in community donations. The project is scheduled to be done at the end of 2025 or early 2026. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Wilt.
It all began with eBay and Craigslist, the online version of the want ad for people who wanted to sell their stuff. These days, it seems Facebook Marketplace is the go-to for those looking to get rid of their stuff. A quick scroll will show you the usual stuff: furniture, cars, maybe some clothes. How about electronics? Perhaps something to improve your home theater experience. As Hunter Funk found out, I guess that depends on the size of your home.
Hop onto Facebook, click Marketplace, and let's be honest, you can find almost anything. There's the more classic items like Halloween costumes and, well, camo wedding dresses, but there's also more unusual items like a disco saddle, a keg urinal for $500 because what beer goes in must also come out, a buggy, a mechanical bull, burial plots, metal suit of armor, or a full-on leather one.
I've seen anything from like Cheetos that look like Jesus.
But if you're really looking to reel in a unique find, what about a drive-in movie theater over in Emmett? Sterling Hardman, the property coordinator, says they're putting the business on the market.
It's unfortunate we have to sell it because we enjoyed running it when we had it, but like I said, right now it's not in our cards to keep running it.
Hardman says the owner bought the 75-acre property after it sat vacant for 15 years and saw a picture-perfect opportunity with the space. In 2019, they built the theater, but after 5 years, Hardman says they're focusing on their other businesses like the nearby Motorplex and Roadhouse event venue. He says they don't have the capacity to focus on the drive-in movie theater, so that's where they took it to Facebook.
We put it on Facebook Marketplace to see if anyone local or in the surrounding area would be able to pick it up and buy it. We've had a couple people reach out to us, and so we'll see if it stays local, but we're crossing our fingers because it's fun. We've had plenty of movies out here. Advertising might not have been the greatest.
They are asking $55,000 for the screen, $30,000 for the projector, and $25,000 for the building. And they'll deliver it for $3,000 within 100 miles. It's what some might call an odd find on the marketplace, but he says it's a chance for the community to save it by finding a new local owner.
There's still a few here left in Idaho. There was one that was here in Emmett for a long time, but it went by the wayside, and we think if people see the capability and the opportunity that they'll be able to come in and pick it up and hopefully have a cool business of their own.
Now, it's important to note the property is not for sale, so you're going to need a good chunk of land if you plan to take this business opportunity.
Can you imagine trying to put that up in your backyard?
You know, as a kid, I would have loved that.
Sure.
But as a parent, I don't think, no, it wouldn't happen.
Have they had any takers? Like, they said they had some interest, but I mean, how close are they getting?
I mean, it sounds like their takers aren't necessarily from the area. It sounds like they might be from bigger areas because they said that they can actually sell their stuff. It sounds like on maybe another site if they wanted to. They just wanted to focus on keeping it local so they could still have a drive-in movie theater.
Maybe we can see a rebirth of the drive-in movie theater.
Now's your chance. I don't know.
Exactly. Now's your chance. All right, thanks, Hunter.
Gorgeous fall photos from Donnelly, but that scene, that landscape may look a little bit more wintry than fall-like in the coming days, as we do have the return of wet and wintry weather coming our way. Not today and not tomorrow. That's the good news. Today, our biggest weather headline has really been that cold wind. If you look out from Skycam 7, you can see the trees kind of waving or maybe shivering in the wind. That's still at 20 miles per hour in Boise right now out of the northwest. So our temperature of 53 degrees currently will feel much colder because of that wind. And if you are headed out this evening, anticipate those brisk blustery winds to linger likely until after sunset, slowly dying down as our evening progresses. And we will keep clear skies in play overnight, but with clear skies and calmer winds that will allow temperatures tomorrow morning to dip into the 20s across much of the Treasure Valley. So be ready for a nose-numbing start to what will end up being a really pleasant Wednesday. But on Thursday, this is that next big weather maker we're watching. You can see the size and scope of this system. It's a big one that will send rounds of precipitation our way, firing up in the wee hours of Thursday, aka Halloween. So we'll be dodging raindrops off and on throughout the day Thursday. A high of just 50 degrees, which means by 7 to 8 o'clock in the evening already down into the 40s. If, hey, you're like, forget about Halloween, take me out to the Blue on Friday instead. If you're headed out to watch San Diego State take on our Boise State Broncos, be ready for a chilly evening there as well. That 6 o'clock kickoff in the upper 40s at that point. Couple lingering showers possible through the day on Friday as well. So maybe take the hooded jackets, couple extra blankets as well. It'll be a cold fall game. And Thursday is a first alert day because of the cool conditions and the scattered showers. We keep rain in play through Saturday, and then the weekend, the temperatures become our big headline highs, only in the upper 40s for our first few days of November.
Welcome back. All right, we got lots of comments today about the couple of stories we talked about. Let's start with the one on the mammograms and the screening for breast cancer that does not seem to be available in Idaho. Regional Medical Center prices for 2D mammograms, $210, 3Ds, $279. For $69, it is really worth it, even if you have to pay the difference to get the 3D, says Kathy. But not everybody can afford that $69. As Representative Brooke Green says, either buy food or get the extra test. Sometimes that's a tough decision for families. This one, though, from Andrea in Meridian, saying, it just seems ridiculous to me that a test for any cancer that may catch cancer is even an option. The world knows early detection ends with a better outcome. What is the point having a routine test done if it misses that diagnosis? She's shaking her head, by the way. Prager U is an outstanding website. Don't worry, Boise School District will not sign up for it since it is optional. Frank and Eagle says that Dennis Prager, former Brooklyn, New York Jewish person, liberal, who became conservative 40 years ago because, well, can't blame him for that. Letting Prager U into Idaho schools is a dangerous move. I investigated it when our grandkids told me about it. Bottom line, it distorts the truth and divides people. Do not open the door to Prager U, says Jenny. So disappointed in Superintendent Critchfield's decision to partner with a conservative nonprofit. Basically, the message she is sending is that teachers can indoctrinate if it fits the agenda of the conservatives in the state. Going backwards, says Maggie in Twin Falls. What's the cost of Prager U and who pays for it? That's Deb and Emmett. It's a good question. It costs nothing. It's just a website. Anybody can go there. And here's the thing. Debbie Critchfield, as superintendent, is recommending it. At least that's what Prager U said, which is what I wanted to ask her about it. Is she recommending it or just allowing it to be available in school districts across the state? Maybe we'll get that answer. See you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.